ran for anything. And I've watched him as an extraordinary public servant, first in the quorum court here and then in the state legislature. There's been a consistency and an authenticity about his service that just makes me very proud. But again, I would say this, everything that I think is an important issue to stand for, he stands for it. He's unapologetically pro-life. He believes every human being matters. And he has expressed that as a senator in the priorities of education, protecting children who maybe were put at risk, sometimes through government systems. And the legislation that he has championed shows that real pro-life people aren't just concerned about a child in the womb. They're concerned about that child from the womb to the tomb, giving that child dignity and a sense of worth and value that sometimes people can get lost. So, when Tom Wilkins said, "Hey, would you come do an event for Allen?" I said, "Absolutely. We'll just find a time. But would I ever be glad to do it? Because, I believe in him. I've watched his career. My only regret, and this is a genuine regret, is that I didn't get to be governor during his tenure in the legislature, because boy, would I have loved to have worked with him. But I've certainly been able to admire his service."
Very nice. So you kind of elaborated on the pro-life. Is there anything else that kind of reflects value?
Well, yeah, several things. Number one, Alan's never been one that thought that taxes were something that we ought to just go out there and stack on top of people, because he knows, as a small business operator, that when you add taxes, you've added cost to the consumer. So it's not just that it hurts the business, you can say, well, we don't want to hurt the business, but hurting a business hurts the consumer. So it hurts the person who goes into the store and who buys something because the price is added to the goods. He also understands that when government starts making it hard for businesses due to excessive and sometimes regressive regulation, that's a cost, and it often makes it very difficult for employees to get raises, for customers to get a better deal. There are no winners. So he's fought for cutting regulations, fought for keeping taxes low, holding government's feet to the fire on spending money that it shouldn't be spending. And I think those are things that people can look at and say, I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican, Independent, that's beneficial. Mm-hmm. And that's truly something I hope people will see as they can look at his record. And it's a very strong and positive one that covers the full spectrum of things that are good for the people of Garland County and the rest of Arkansas.
Very nice. Was there anything else you wanted to add about his campaign?
Anything else you want me to add about your campaign?
Anything you wanted to add?
I know he's got a primary opponent as well as his general election. So one of the things that I want to encourage these folks to do, give generously to their senator. Make sure he's got the resources to fight the battle in the campaign so he can keep fighting the battle in the state capitol.
All right, very nice. Now, to kind of go off topic a little bit, I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions about the impeachment proceedings of the Fox News commentator, or a separate piece.
Well, I can tell you Ambien sales have plummeted this week because people have decided if they watch the impeachment hearings, they'll go to sleep much faster than if they take an Ambien. It's an embarrassment to the country. It's unfortunate that the Democrats seem to have zero respect for the election process, and they fear that the president will be reelected in a landslide, which I predict he will be. And so they feel like their only hope is to come up with this phony, absurd, and frankly embarrassing impeachment process. And today was, I call it political pornography. That's really what it amounts to. It's just disgusting. Now, how do I really feel about it?
Yeah, tell me how you really feel.
Well, Cassidy, I think I said it. So there you go.
Do you think President Trump's Ukrainian phone call warrants impeachment? That's
Heavens,
what everyone's been saying.
If it did, he wouldn't have been the one to release it. Mm-hmm. To me, the whole thing is shattered by the fact that he himself released the call, every bit of it, held nothing back, and if it was untoward, he would have kept that sealed and hidden from view, and instead he said, here it is, see what I said. The most amazing thing is that now on 3, or was it 4, separate occasions, President Zelensky of the Ukraine has adamantly said, once as recently as Monday of this week, that there was no pressure, there was no quid pro quo, he was not a victim. So, you know, if you're going to say that, well, he was victimized by the president, shouldn't the victim be aware of it? If somebody mugs me on the street, I'm going to say, I don't remember that. Gosh, I don't even know what happened to me. That's the absurdity of this whole thing, is that the alleged person who was squeezed felt no pressure whatsoever and has repeatedly, publicly said that every conversation that he and the President of the United States have had have been appropriate.
So what do you predict the outcome of the proceedings to be?
Waste of time and taxpayer money at the expense of being able to get some things done that really would help, like the trade deal with Mexico and Canada. We ought to be building roads. We ought to be securing the border. We ought to be continuing the legislation that cuts expenses for small business owners. But instead, they're spending millions of dollars in these ridiculous shows that they get a little camera time. But I think in the long run, the American people aren't stupid. They can watch 30 minutes of this and see what it's all about. And I think I think it already is. I think it's already backfiring dramatically on the Democrats.
Very nice. Well, thank you very much.
Cassidy,
So
thank
nice to
you.
meet
Appreciate your coming out, and
Yeah.
very nice to meet
It
you.
was nice to meet you as well.
Yes, Cassidy, good to meet you. Thank you for coming.